So many years, haunted by hatred, shaped by fear. No place to go. I'm the prisoner. Won't you remind me? Need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. Because I'm counting on you, yeah. Peace and love. Welcome again to the NEPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdullah Islam.
Today's episode, we focus on his brother, formerly known as H. Brown, and currently goes by the name of Jamil Al-Amin. Imam Jamil Al-Amin. You know, his story is remarkable. The brother has a brilliant mind. You know, we got our guests coming on right now. We want to get right to it. So without further ado, we're going to bring on our guests.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam, my brother. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Thank you for having me. Yeah, thank you for having me. Bilal Sunni Ali should be on soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can start out, brother. You want to introduce yourself and, a little short bio?
Yes, certainly. My name is Naeem. Walid ibn Rafiq Mujahid. I work with the Imam Jamil Action Network in any capacity that is needed. And I'm a member of the New Dawah Islam movement, which is in allegiance to Imam Jamil Abdullah al-Amin. I am the Naib al-Amir of Jama'at al-Asr community here in Florida that we are building. We're trying to restart a masjid in Arcadia. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. That's who I am. I see that Baba Bilal is on. Alhamdulillah.
Welcome to the show. Appreciate you. Brother Sunan Ali, how you doing, my brother?
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Abdul Haq. Assalamu
Walaikum
alaikum.
salam to
Frank.
Allah barakatuh too.
Yeah. Yeah. How you brothers
Alaikum
doing
salam.
this morning?
Before we get into
We're
Imam,
doing great. He asked us how we was doing. We doing
we
great, my
cool,
brother.
bro. We good. Before we get
Alhamdulillah.
into
Alhamdulillah.
Imam Jamil's aspects, you want to give some critical aspects of your own biography, brother?
Okay.
Brother
Well,
Bilal?
I'll try to be brief with it. I'm a former political prisoner. I'm a former political prisoner in two different eras back in 1969, 68, I was a political prisoner in Soledad, California, and then later on, I was a political prisoner. I was held for trial during the case that was known as the United States of America versus Dr. Mutulu Shakur, which our lawyer, uh, our lawyer, the Honorable Chokwe Lumumba, renamed New Africa versus America, and that was a RICO case back in 1981. We were on trial in '83. I was acquitted of those charges, and
Alhamdulillah.
brother Mutulu Shakur was convicted. Same charges, same indictment, same lack of evidence, same lawyer. But what our lawyer said, the difference was, which account for my acquittal, was that I had 9 black people on the jury. Mutulu had no black people on his jury. So with that, you could see was where you tell a story, and black people interpret it one way, and white people interpret it another way. So since
Ain't
then,
that grounds for appeal?
Pardon?
Ain't that grounds for appeal? No blacks on the jury?
The brother said, is it that ground for appeal? No black people on the jury.
Well, it's once your jury is picked, your jury is picked. So I don't know, but at this point, I mean, Mutulu did 36 years, almost 37 years. Now he's returned to Allah. He was released last December, and he's returned to Allah. So that case is over with. There's no. But the issue of appealing based on the issue of appealing that you raise is important because as one of the points on the Black Panther Party 10-point platform is that we want the release of all black and brown women, men, women, and children held in U.S. prisons and jails. And that was because none of them, for the most part, you figure 95% or better were not tried by a jury of their peers. In the case of Imam Jamil, he was tried by a jury of a number of. He had a good amount of black people on his jury, but they were young, and they didn't know anything about history. Didn't know anything about COINTELPRO, didn't know anything about government surveillance and government misconduct and judicial misconduct. And they fell victims of it because they didn't know, they weren't educated to it. They fell victims to it because in the case of Imam Jamil, there was no evidence at all. There was no evidence, and there was no evidence presented that he could have possibly committed the acts that they accused him of.
You hold your thought, brother. Get into the bogus trial Imam Jamil had, but on the aspect of the jury, I was there and I noticed that any black person who had read one paragraph by anything black, they got rid of it. You know, so even though you have some blacks on the jury, they like to call it a jury of your peers. You know, that was another example of a counterfeit ideal that these people run. You know, that they have these ideals, but they they destroy them by the way they implement things. You know, it was one dude on the jury. You know, he got there talking about he was a part of the Nation of Islam. Back in the back of the, jury, the room, signaling this cat, to keep his mouth shut. And so they asked him, "Do you believe the police lie?" He said, "Well, just like any other people, you got good ones and you got bad ones." And the judge said, "You're lying. You're out of here." So even though you had some juries on some blacks on the jury, they had not spent 5 seconds reading anything about their own people. Not one of them.
For those for people who are not familiar with Jamil, let's give him a background. Let's brief people on his biography.
Okay. Imam Jamil was known as H. Rap Brown. H. Rap Brown was a historical figure in our movement, in our struggle for self-determination. He was involved in the voter rights struggle of the early and mid 1960s in Alabama, and they created the Alabama Freedom Organization, which was the forerunner to the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. In fact, Bobby Seale wrote to the Alabama Freedom Organization and asked them permission could they use the symbol, because they used the symbol the Black Panther, and they had a Black Panther ticket on their ballot. Now, one of the things that's unique about the Black voter rights movement of that time, and in Alabama, the movement which Imam Jamil, known at that time as H. Rap Brown, led, was that their voter education program was key, because it taught the concept of self-determination and voting as a block. So it taught people to vote as a block. Um, it didn't just teach people that you got the right to vote, so go vote. It was teaching people how to vote, how to protect your community, how to develop your community, and that was the whole idea of voting. Because Imam Jamil is often known as using the quote, uh, "What good is it? What what better way to keep a man a slave than to give him the right to vote and call him free?" So you can have the right to vote, but if you're not voting in a block for a specific purpose, the vote is not doing you. Is the vote is meaningless to us as a people, and it's meaningless to any group of oppressed people. Uh, so that was he was very much involved in that. He was the state chairman for the group known as SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. After that, after doing that work in Alabama, he became the chairman, the national chairman of SNCC, and at that time he moved up to New York, and that's where many of us in New York met him and got to interact with him while he was the national chairman of SNCC, and they had an office in New York on Fifth Avenue, somewhere around 15th Street. So
I
that's some.
appreciate it, brother.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
no, go ahead, brother. I ain't want to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say that as after the time when he was the national chairman of SNCC, he was accused of a number of incidents of uh, inciting a riot, inciting arson, and in one particular incident in um, in Cambridge, Maryland, he was shot at. He was shot at, and he was framed by district attorney um, in Maryland. I forget the county, but District Attorney William B. Yates later on in court admitted that he made up the charges of arson and inciting the riot just so that they
Whoa.
could get the FBI and get other elements of the federal government on his case so that they created that scenario where being in Maryland and planning to go, he lived in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. So he had to go to the cross state lines to the District of Columbia and then to Virginia because the airport was in Virginia. So then they charged him with uh, um, avoiding crossing state lines to avoid persecution. They say to avoid prosecution, but we say to avoid persecution. But he had to, those state lines were just natural boundaries because of where he was. He was in Cambridge, Maryland, and he was going to the airport in the airport was in Virginia. And so from that time on, they put him on the number 10 most wanted list, which is a fictitious list. There's really no counting of and discerning that there are 10 people in the country who are the most wanted by the FBI. It's just a list that they use for propaganda purposes. And once they had him in that position, they used that for propaganda purposes. And then finally he was um, he was accused of being involved in a robbery of a place that was supposed to be frequented by drug users and by drug traffickers. And in that case, he was, won't go into all of the discrepancies and the evidence of that case, but it's been a continuous framing him on charges. On that case in New York, he did 5 years on Rikers Island, and while he was awaiting trial, he he attended some programs of the Darul Islam movement, and he took his shahada. He took the declaration of faith, and he became Muslim. And after he got out of prison, he came down to Atlanta, and he became the imam of the community mosque in Atlanta, and eventually became the emir over about 40 different communities around the country and the Caribbean, and even some in Europe and Africa. So
Wow.
that's as brief as I can bring it. His life, the highlights of his life. There's a whole lot more could be talked about on each aspect, but those are the
Yeah.
highlights of the life, of the history of Imam Jamil, from H. Rap Brown to Imam Jamil.
Which explains why they would want to keep him locked up for the rest of his life.
And I think that it's very important that people need to understand his background because now they understand why he's identified as a political prisoner. That because what he represents for people of African descent in terms of their self determination being carried out. We understand that there's a number of things going on that he's behind of in terms of expressing self determination for his people. And then you also mentioned a book coming out. So did anyone of y'all speak on that?
Yeah, well, I'll let Naeem talk about what's going on in the legal aspect of the uh, Fulton County, uh, Fulton County Conviction Integrity Unit. You can go ahead, Naeem, please.
The question had been on a book. I believe what's being referred to is either Harun Kunani's book or the leaflets. I'm not sure, but perhaps we can get to that later. I can talk about the Conviction Integrity Unit.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, brother.
Okay, so the Conviction Integrity Unit, the Fulton County Conviction Integrity Unit, is headed by Fannie Willis, who's currently perhaps famous for her current case with Trump. However, before Trump, she had expressed a desire to see Imam Jamil return to Atlanta and freed. And so it was sometime last year in 2022. I don't have the exact date that a member from the Conviction Integrity Unit had went to interview Imam Jamil. And we know from that interview that some agent from the government, some government agency was also present, trying to offer Imam Jamil a deal in which if he gave them information that he would be released. He told them he had no information. He's been away for too long, so he had no information for them. Later on in December, Amy Maxwell, she's the Chief Senior Assistant District Attorney with the Conviction Integrity Unit. Her, along with a member of Imam Jamil's legal team, went to interview Otis Jackson, also known as James Santos. And he has another name that escapes my mind. He is the shooter. He's he's the one who shot the deputy on the night of March of 2000. And he's been confessing ever since. And we have him on video when he showed up on Court TV a couple of years ago. They went to interview him in December of 2022. They saw the bullet wounds. And we have good hope that soon Imam Jamil will be freed, inshallah. And we ask Allah to make that soon. Now, in terms
on the point of him, the bullet wound. Oh.
I'm sorry?
On the point of the bullet wounds, the location of the bullet wounds are consistent with what the police officer said that he shot the shooter. The police officer, he shot the shooter, and the bullet wounds are consistent with the police officer's testimony. Correct?
Correct. They said they shot him in the stomach, or they wounded him somewhere on his body. I'm told that when they went to interview him, they saw bullet wounds on his arms. If I'm recalling correctly.
That's because one of the things that I wanted to do, or we wanted to do, is we wanted to try to get in touch with Otis Jackson so we could have him on a platform where he confessing, and now more people now get to hear him say it, and we can make that go viral, because I think that it has to be consistently put out there.
Now, can we look into the possibility of making that happen? A taped interview with Otis Jackson?
Okay, what I would suggest you could do, and other people could do, who are who have media platforms, is that there's a video of Otis Jackson confessing in a courtroom on an unrelated matter, and that time in that cross-examination of Otis Jackson, the matter comes up of the shooting that took place in Atlanta, and that video is available it's available on the website What Happened to Rap. rap.com. What happened? Use the number 2 rap.com. And that's a website that's a website that's conducted by Kyrie al-Amin, who is the son of Imam Jamil al-Amin, he's the leading spokesman for the legal team of Imam Jamil al-Amin. Again, that's what happened to rap. You can also go to our website, IJAN's website, which is www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. I think that would be a more secure way of getting the video, and then you could play the video on your platform.
Yeah.
We got to work on that and making that part of our introduction. Because once we putting that out continuously and telling people to make this go viral, now we have something to raise to people on a regular basis. What is it that people can do to support the Imam?
One of the things we suggest, we always tell people to do is a group called Students for Imam Jamil. That's another advocacy group along with IJAN. And they have a petition to bring him back to Atlanta, which is what he wants, what his lawyers want, and what the Conviction Integrity Unit wants. And that petition can be found at the website freeimamjamil.com, freeimamjamil.com. So please, encouraging your listening audience to write these websites down. That one, Free Imam Jamil, and they have on that website they'll give you a list of things to do. One of the things they do is they do letter writing to Imam Jamil. And IJAN has a few different projects where one of them is called Expose COINTELPRO and Beyond. And yesterday, Naeem and I and several other supporters were on talking with a group of college students. We were on for 3 hours talking about COINTELPRO, which, as you know, had named Imam Jamil as a target, and Imam Jamil was a target in the 60s, and he was a target right through up until 2000 when he was finally captured and put in prison. So we talked to them about COINTELPRO and other ways of entrapment, so that we can educate people. People could join that coalition, Expose COINTELPRO, and also one of the aspects, plans of that of the escape of Expose COINTELPRO and Beyond was to get a bill passed called the Full Disclosure Bill, which was introduced to Congress by Congressman Bobby Rush, who is a former Panther himself. He was in the chapter with Chairman Fred Hampton in Chicago, Illinois. He was in that chapter, and he became a congressman, and he put forward that bill to have full disclosure of COINTELPRO. And we were pushing that bill, and Bobby Rush is no longer going to run for Congress. So when this term is over, next term, that bill will be taken up by Congressperson Cori Bush, and they'll reintroduce the bill. So those are.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about the book. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, brother. You were talking. I thought you finished.
There's a book that's coming out. There's a book that Imam Jamil wrote called Holy Cost. Holy Cost. It's a play on the words Holocaust. And the book is it has about 15 different poems. It's all poetry and verse in the classic style of Imam Jamil, the classic style of H. Rap Brown.
Yeah.
It's all in poetry and verse, and the what we'd call the title tune. If it was a recording album, we'd call it the title tune. But the title tune, the poem which has the title, same title as the book, is the poem Holy Cause, and that will be released. That'll be the next thing that will be released. It'll be a booklet form with the
How
whole.
soon?
We're hoping very soon. We're hoping within the next few weeks. I'll I hope to talk with the brother who's putting it together. We'll talk with him sometime this weekend, and I'll be able to let you know how soon we expect it to be. How soon we expect it to be released.
And where to get it? Get those from bookstores, right?
You'll be able to.
You
Well,
expect to
we
see
will
it on the black
advertise it.
bookstore, right?
We will advertise it on our website, and we will create. Once we get it produced, we'll
Right.
create a distribution system, and hopefully it'll be available in
Yeah,
bookstores. The
good.
book the book is
Good.
not. The book will be given away, and donations will be accepted. So we don't know exactly what kind of
All right.
distribution things we can set up with the bookstores, but you will have it. The Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition will have it, and other groups
Good. I
advocating
want
on
one.
behalf of political prisoners
Yes,
will
We'll
get
share it.
copies of that.
because that's what we do. We promote literature by political prisoners on our platform. You see this one right here?
Yeah,
This is
that's a
one of
very
his books,
important
Revolution
book.
by the Book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Imam Jamil. That's Imam Jamil's. That was his latest book before this present one was produced.
Holy.
And then that
And
last book that he had, Die Nigga Die.
we encourage people to read both of those books, especially read Die Nigga Die to get the history, some history, not
Yes.
not so much his history, although it is autobiographical, but to get the history of the times that we have lived through. And Revolution by the Book is actually commentary on our book, the Quran, which is the scripture that Muslims, followers of Muhammad, may Allah's peace and blessings be on him. The Revolution by the Book is as an explanation of applying the Quran to those conditions that are described in Die Nigga Die. It's how you can apply the Quran to them and bring about a change in the life of those oppressed people, of we oppressed people.
I wonder, we hear a lot of talk about mental health crisis. And these books, how do you think that they will help people dealing with mental health crisis?
And then could you please repeat the
I was,
question?
I
I'm
was
not sure
saying,
I understood the question.
today we hear a lot about mental health crisis. People going through a lot of mental health crisis. A book like Revolution by the Book, how could that help a person going through a mental health crisis?
Well, I would say that book, the way it could help a person who's going through a mental health crisis, like we said, we believe that the Quran is the medicine for all of our ills, and this book, Revolution by the Book, is an interpretation of the Quran by a revolutionary, by our revolutionary Imam. So it would help because that's exactly what it is. A lot of people can't figure out what's going on, but if you read it, it takes you step by step step by step. And if you read through the table of contents and the chapters of the book, each chapter of the book is talking about a specific thing that we need to do as a people. That's a step toward our self-determination that is actually prescribed in the Quran.
We still here, brother. You hear me?
What I didn't hear what you said.
Just make sure we got back on. We had a little brief interruption, but we back.
Technical difficulty.
Yeah, now we can
Okay.
overcome. But yeah, you know, because I'm always looking for something to help people who going through a mental health crisis. So now I have something to offer somebody who's going through a situation. We have to, you know, when we look at what Imam represents in terms of advancing people's thinking, we have to make sure that we know how important this brother is, so that we have a number of resources to help us in these very hard situations. Recently, I was told that certain political prisoners, they're having some challenges when they come to the parole board because they claim to be political prisoners. What's your take on that?
Okay.
You,
There's
you,
something wrong with the transmission. I'm not hearing you.
oh, okay. What about now? You hear me now?
Yeah, I'm not okay. I can heard you just say, can you hear me?
Oh,
But I didn't hear
okay. Right
the
now, I
question that
said,
you had posed.
yeah,
Could,
the question I said that you have some of our political prisoners who are having challenges when they come to the parole board because they're claiming to be political prisoners. You want to speak on that?
oh, if they've claimed that they're political prisoners. Well, I know that
Get to the
Imam
parole
Jamil
board.
claim and his statement is always that he is a prisoner at war. That's the
Yeah.
claim. That's the claim he makes. But of course, he's been charged with. He's been sentenced to life without possibility of parole. So he doesn't even go to a parole board because unless he gets, we expect him to be freed not on parole, but be freed outright, either by a new trial, and that's what the Conviction Integrity Unit, they have the right to they can free and exonerate him without a new trial, or they can call for a new trial, or they can call for a reduction in sentence. And what we're looking for, and what we're hoping for, and what we're asking that the law brings about is his complete freedom and exoneration without a new trial. But he at least deserves a new trial, and with all of the evidence, if that evidence was tried over with people being aware of the lack of evidence in the fair trial, it would be hard to find a jury that would find him guilty if he's given a fair trial.
So I think the job now is to spread this evidence far and wide as we can. Using all the resources that we have. To let masses of people know that Imam Jamil is innocent. And hopefully that will create the political energy. You understand, which will produce forces to put some pressure on the system to free the Imam.
And I think that this video, this confession of Otis Jackson,
Oh, that'd be big. That'd be big.
needs to continue to go viral.
Make that go viral.
Make that TikTok, make that use Instagram, create reels, and ask others to duplicate it and share it. And I think that put it on your social media, add followers so all of your followers are alerted that this video is out, and we make that viral so that the pressure's on the state to give them a new trial. Innocence is declared right there.
Yeah, because sometimes the state is forced to pretend that its counterfeit ideals are real. That comes from pressure from the people. And the study of our history shows that the people have a great power to put pressure on the system, to make them pretend that what they're talking about, is true.
Yeah, we appreciate.
Absolutely, we
We
got to
definitely
stand up.
appreciate. I was saying we definitely appreciate the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition assisting us in this endeavor, and we really appreciate. We've given you the information, and we want to say that we're actually next Wednesday will be the 80th birthday of Imam Jamil, and we're launching this present media blitz, and in conjunction with his 80th birthday. But this is not just for his 80th birthday. This is for his life and continued. So the date of October 4th is just the jump off point that we're leading up to, and that's the jump off point where we want to continue with a full media blitz. And that video of Otis Jackson will be a big part of it, and we appreciate your podcast playing that video in the season. And like I said, if you can, it's a short clip, and just like you have things that bring on the show, that could be something that could be an introduction to your show as often as your show comes on. Okay, I don't know if so, I don't know if people can hear me, but I just want to give out the website again. If people can hear me, that's www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. Also, What Happened to Rap using the number 2, What Happened using number 2, rap.com, and freeimamjamil.com, freeimamjamil.com. Next Wednesday will be a caravan in Atlanta going from the West End community to Fulton County Courthouse to the State Capitol building, and then to several sites around the city of Atlanta. That'll be on Wednesday, October 4th, 1 week from today, on his birthday. Okay, I don't. Okay, I'm not sure if the show is still on, or can you tell Naeem if whether we're still on the air or what?
It looks like we're still on the air.
Okay. Well, just want to again repeat that information. That our website is www.imamjamilactionnetwork.org. The other website is What Happened to Rap and freeimamjamil.com.
Yes, brother. We throughout this broadcast, we were splitting up that information.
Okay. And we can,
Yo,
and
Bilal,
when
you
you go
remember
to
any lines from his book, Holocaust?
Holocaust, yeah, I remember the two lines that I remember that stick out for me is he says, he reminds people that without rap there is no hip hop. Without rap there is no hip hop. And
That's
another
true.
one, yeah,
True.
and another one he says is that if they are strutting and straggling like all y'all claim, how come the game ain't in your name? Like a lot of people like to make up raps and poetry with, you pushing their name as important. But before he became Imam Jamil, his name was rap because he had a profound way
Yeah.
of discussing things with people that was very to the point and often used rhyme, rhythm and rhyme. And so since he was
Right.
early in his life, early in his teenage life, his name was rap. Before there was a genre of music that's called rap, he was called rap. So he says, they're strutting and straggling like all y'all claim.
Yeah.
How come the game ain't in your name? So we're looking
In your
forward to that
name,
book
right.
coming out
What's the
real
name of the
soon.
brother? What's the name of the brother that makes recorded reading from Holocaust? Does he have a website?
I don't know the website,
Just a
but
delay.
there's a brother named Jamil who's in the community. Yeah, he comes from the same community that Imam Jamil is the imam of. He was a young college
What's
student
in
when he first
Lafayette?
came, and yeah, and he was a young college student, but now he's now he's an older man. He produces hip hop and he introduces younger poets and younger entertainers into on the scene. And the book will be out, and there'll be a recording of it out. Matter of fact, we'll send the recording so y'all can play it on the podcast. If we create a video, we'll
Good.
send out, and we're hoping to have those done before the month of October is out. We're hoping to have the video with Jamil, brother Jamil, also known as Uncle Hap, doing the work of our Imam Jamil al-Amin.
All right. Appreciate you, brother. So, I think we covered everything, so we could close it out. So, my closing remarks is, we can't let our freedom fighters die in prison. We can't let our political prisoners die in prison. We got to be organized and we got to take action. This is a platform to advocate for the freedom of our political prisoners, but it doesn't stop here. We fight for political prisoners and we do what we need to do in communities to make sure that the community knows about political prisoners. Like in Queensbridge, we got a relationship with a group known as Transform America. Every Thursday, we there from 6 to 8, dealing with community grief support issues. We come together to be supportive to one another. And our political prisoners did that prior to incarceration, and some of them do that now. Well, they do that now while they're incarcerated. They impact where they at in their prison, and they let people know that their lives are valuable. So we stand on their shoulders and we let them know that they're not forgotten by the work that we're doing. So that's my closing remarks. Brother, your closing remarks?
Yeah, what I would like to say to the audience is, anybody who wants to become active in liberating Imam Jamil, play this video again and take down all that information, all that contact information, um, you know, the aspects of dealing with the evidence in the case, all that that proves Imam Jamil is innocent, and spread that far and wide. There's a concept that one person tell 10 people, and they tell each one of them 10 people to tell 10 other people, on and on and on and on and on. To create that power, you understand, to force the system to free Imam Jamil. What's the call? Free them all.
Got any closing words, brother?
Free them all.
Free them all.
Just as you said, to remind people to go to the website, and when you get that information, not just to get the information, but to get the information so that you can spread that information. Because the more people know the truth, the more difficult it is to hide the truth. And that's what we need, for people to go to the website so you get that information and you do the things it says to do. You share it with others, not just have the website to say, well, I know the website. You go and you watch stuff, but share it with others. And if you know any other people with media platforms, please have them get in touch with us through the website. There's phone numbers and email addresses that you can contact us through on the website, and you can also write to Imam Jamil. You can also donate money to Imam Jamil's defense, and you can get all of that information: where to write to him, where to donate money, and where to donate money for his legal defense. You can get all of that information at those websites.
Right. And remember, one of my favorite verses from the Quran: Allah hurls truth and falsehood and knocks its brains out. And falsehood is an ever vanishing thing.
Yes.
My
brother, my brother, the brother who was just on with us. You still with us, brother?
Yes, I am.
If you got any closing words?
Thank you for having us. I ask Allah to free Imam Jamil and to free all our political prisoners, and to guide those oppressed peoples, just as Allah Ta'ala guide the oppressed peoples of the past.
All right, we appreciate your time, because we know how precious time is. So be safe in your travel.
Thank you.
Free them all.
Free them all.
Free them all.